good morning. This is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant morning, and what a beautiful day it is. And before we start anything, I just want to do a little catch up here. On the last video I mentioned that I was taking a massage therapist to the Human Rights Commission, and somebody commented that they didn't like the idea of going to any of these kind of commissions, and I will 100% agree with that. However, this is the institution that you have to go to lodge a complaint, and I am actually getting quite a sort of delicious sense of satisfaction out of knowing that I am going to churn these people up and down with their own rules and regulations, because they cannot deny that these rules and regulations are in place, and if they're in place they have to uphold them. So this is really a test, maybe belatedly, of our institutions, but I'll be very interested to see how it goes. I'll keep you posted on the story, but in the meantime, this video I wanted to make about the kind of contradictions and gaslighting that we are seeing going on now. I want to play you a little video clip here. It's of a doctor, it's Canadian news, and he is about to tell you that we are looking at an epidemic of the uninoculated. Okay, and then we'll flip over to an article that was put out by the CDC and completely contradicts that. So anyway, let's go look at this little clip and we'll come back in a second. Okay, here we go.
Epidemiologist and cardiologist Dr. Christopher Labos joins me now from Montreal. Doctor, good afternoon, and thank you for taking out the time for speaking with us here on the channel.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this issue of the unvaccinated getting affected now because of COVID-19. We understand, the original strain and now the Delta variant, which is more contagious, is affecting those who are unvaccinated. What's your take on how can we change the percentage of people? How do we go about giving out the message now?
Well, I think we have to first off keep highlighting that, as the CDC said recently, what we're seeing now is an epidemic of the unvaccinated. People who have received 2 doses of their vaccines are and seem to be very well protected, but people who have not had a complete vaccination are the ones who are getting sick. So we have to, I think, hammer home in our messaging. The point is that you need your 2 doses to be protected. And if you don't have those 2 doses, you are at risk. You are going to be one of the people who is going to end up in hospital because COVID is still circulating. And I think part of the problem is that we've sort of become the victims of our own success. Things are going very well. So let's not diminish the reality of that. Things are going very well in terms of COVID. But there is still circulating COVID out there, and it still poses a significant risk for the people who are unvaccinated. And I think that's the message we have to communicate to people, so that the percentage of people who have not gotten vaccinated yet because they're unsure if it's really beneficial or not, those are the people we have to target, and those are the people who have to get the message that they are still at risk and they could still get sick and they could still end up in hospital because they don't have the protection that the vaccines offer.
You know,
and now here is the article from MSNBC, which is a mainstream, media outlet, and this story is put out by the CDC, and it says that 74% of CV cases are of those who are inoculated. And here we are from CNBC. CDC study shows 74% of people infected in Massachusetts CV outbreak were fully vaccinated. The key points: about 3/4 of people infected in the Massachusetts CV outbreak were fully inoculated, according to new data published Friday by the CDC. The new data published in the U.S. agency's Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report also found that fully inoculated people who get infected carry as much of the virus in the nose as uninoculated people. Well, fancy that. How can that be? That's a complete contradiction of what the doctor in Toronto said. Now, these people presumably are in contact with each other. This doctor must get his information from somewhere. Presumably it's from the WHO or the CDC. And the CDC, of course, puts that information publicly and internally to all of its different health units. So how do we get this contradiction taking place? This is one of the best examples of gaslighting, and it's so subtle because it's it's so subtle. It's not really over the top, but it's one of those little inconsistencies that makes your head go. And when you see these inconsistencies, I think what it should make your head do is go, oh, these are the crazy people. Because if this was as serious as they are trying to make out, you wouldn't see contradictions like that. Okay, this would be plain speaking. There would be no misunderstanding. The directions would be go stand over here, sit down, to whatever. But they would be consistent all the time. And, you know, oh, well, we're learning about this situation. Look, we've been studying this kind of stuff for years. Okay, we've already had, since the year 2000, several situations which they try to escalate into a worldwide situation. And so it's not like we haven't seen this before. So, you know, what are we learning? Okay, no. Look at the contradictions and let those contradictions tell you that what you're being told is a big scam. Okay, I've got no other way to, and you'll see them everywhere. You'll see these with the health unit exemptions. You know, what does the word mandatory mean? The word mandatory means no exceptions. So if there are exceptions, and there are exemptions quite clearly printed out, then it's an obligatory. But that doesn't sound as important, does it? That doesn't sound as imposing. So yes, please look out for these sort of things. These, again, should be reminders that you are not going crazy. Because if you can't, you know, a guy told me, an old carpenter told me years and years and years ago, he said, Steve, life is not that difficult. He says, if you can't figure it out, there's something going on that you're not a party to. And there you go. I can't put it more simply than that, or succinctly as that. Okay, so I've got a busy day ahead of me. In the meantime, you take care. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk very, very shortly. You take care. See you now. Bye.